Excellent. Okay. So welcome all Australians and Americans. My God, we've got a great bunch of people. So thanks for joining in. It's great to see everyone, especially for people like me who are in lockdown. So it's been a challenging few months. And welcome, Christy. Thank you. Congratulations on your medal, and thanks for making the time to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for putting up with our little administrative glitch. Hey people, Christy's one of my favorite coaches. She has a passion for formation skydiving, which I do too. For me, she actually saved me by helping me find a 2-footed outside center exit for my 4-way team several years ago. If you picture the scene, there I am with Joey Jones. People who know Joey Jones will know he's pretty physical and very exciting to fly with. Great coach. But he was suggesting a sort of what appeared to be a one-toed technique on my left foot, which I was not physically capable of achieving. And along came Christy, and she offered me a 2-footed technique, which has worked ever since. So great coach. Thank you so much. That's my personal story. We won't waste any more time. Pop your questions in the chat, people, and then we'll try and field those as we go. But I'm going to hand over to Christy. What inspired you to join the USA team and go to Russia?
Well, so I guess I should start the story saying that SDC Rhythm XP won the right to go to the World Meet in 2019. Yeah, which was a great moment. And they won it with Jeanette Lefkowitz, my former teammate. But she wanted to take time off to start a family with Steve, her husband. So that left an opening. We did talk briefly at the beginning of, I did that right, right after they won the right to go, but it wasn't the right fit for me then. And they ended up with a golden knight named Drew Starr, and they actually had started training with him, expecting to go to the World Meet with him. However, then the world started to end, and because the World Meet got postponed till 2021, Drew's Army obligations wouldn't let him do it, so they were back to looking again. Now, they called me again. And one thing that's, it's very true that if you've done a professional team at the highest levels, you're aware of how much it takes to be on a team like this. It wasn't an obvious decision. I mean, at first you think, hey, yeah, let's go to the World Meet. But training for a year or like 13 months, I think it was, with a team, and I've done this before, it's a lot. It's expensive in every way something can be expensive. It costs a lot of money, obviously, but not just that. It takes all of your energy and then some. It takes a lot of your time. It's just a very immersive experience. And that's why, it's one of the most special experiences. It's one of the most special experiences I've had, is to be able to immerse myself into something like this. But knowing that and having retired from it for a few years, I really had to spend a lot of time walking around my neighborhood thinking whether this was the right choice, and I did it. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I talked a lot with my wife whether it was a good choice. And in the end, kind of COVID sort of opened up the window, because frankly, I had no business because everything was closed. I was dying to jump because I hadn't jumped in the longest break I've ever had in my skydiving career. And I knew things were going to be weird for a while. So, I figured, well, if there was another opportunity to go, this was it. So I think that pretty much tipped the scale into saying yes. And then we started training, which was during COVID. And that was, presented a whole lot of special challenges for sure.
You had something else going on as well, though, because what was happening with the drug agency and like the
whole... well, so this is the first meet I've ever been to or ever trained for that I was more nervous that the meet was actually going to take place than for the meet. Like it was a wild year, and there was just So look, every team, and like, I know it looks, if you look at a professional team or you look at these teams like Rhythm, Hayabusa, Airspeed, you look at these great teams, you go like, man, how do they do it? It must just be some sort of magic sauce. And it's not. It's basically your ability to overcome obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And that's like always been the case, right? Like there is always something. This year there was more than one thing. And as far as the meet actually happening, we had the ups and downs of COVID. Now, when we started this, it was pretty early days, and we weren't in lockdown anymore. We could start to travel around, but just the stress of that. If you guys, remember when we didn't know as much about the virus, and like how, whether it was spread outdoors and, all the things that we kind of be a little bit more confident about now, we weren't at that point. And so just the getting around during the virus, and then the meet, whether it was going to happen, because there was the phase early on where it's so far away, of course it's going to happen. And then as it got closer, we had the winter here in the United States and a lot of Europe, it spiked really, really heavy again. And then even at the last minute, things got good. We all got vaccines here. And then the Delta virus became a thing. So the COVID cycle of whether it was going to happen was pretty crazy. But like, that wasn't it. The thing I was actually probably worried about just as much, if maybe not even more at times, was whether the doping thing. So it shocks most skydivers to find out that we fall under WADA, which is the World Anti-Doping Agency. So basically the dudes that run the Olympics and test all those people for the Olympics, we have the same rules, and theoretically they could show up at one of these events and hand us cups, right? Like, I don't know that it ever happened, but like the FAI has totally agreed that we are part of that organization. And, like no one ever really thinks about it until something like this happens. So basically, if you follow the Russia scandal, they have been barred from holding championships, entering, or sending judges. And that's a problem if your meet is in Russia. Now, originally in 2020, when it was actually supposed to happen in 2020, the ruling and the meet was so short, they easily got an exemption. But yeah, as you can think, okay, well, if it got postponed to 2021, like now we're going to need to start making some arguments. And like, what was hard about this is we didn't have a lot of information about what was happening. So I know that they were working behind the scenes and sending letters and lawyers and talking to their legal counsel and all that sort of stuff. But we didn't really, it was hard to find out what was going on with all this. So there was a pretty big consideration whether this meet was going to happen, just because of that consideration, in addition to COVID. And then, rather tragically, maybe 6 weeks before the meet,
had a plane crash, right?
They had a plane crash. Yeah, one of the Lets, which was the plane that we were going to jump from, crashed basically while taking off. I don't have too many of the details. That wasn't made all that public, other than 4 people died, and everybody was pretty seriously injured that while they were on the plane. So for a long time, the Lets were grounded in all of Russia, and then even up to the meet, I still, again, information is a little tough to get. Certain Lets were grounded. When we got to, well, actually, so Craig Girard coaches the Russian 8-way team, so he was our best link to information for sure. He was over there as little as like, I think 3 weeks before the meet, and he's texting us like, the Lets aren't flying, I'm here, and like there's nobody, the drop zone's empty. So we're like, that's a problem. Do they have another plane plan? What's going on? Eventually, I guess just certain planes were grounded, and they found some other ones. And we were actually there maybe 6 days early, I want to say. And the first day, like, they still weren't flying. They were still putting engines on the plane that we were going to be using. So so I guess this was the first meet I've ever been to where just getting there was such an intense relief. Like, because even at that point, like, okay, we can see the airplane, engines, whatever. We can see the airplane. We're actually here. We all passed our COVID tests to get into the country, and like we're physically here, and there appears to be judges. We're good. So yeah, no, it was.
Were you tested when you arrived? Like, I think you mentioned to me that there was a special tent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Testing to get on an airplane and to get into the country. Oh, the visas. I forgot the visas. Getting an American getting a visa to Russia. That was a whole stressful thing too, man. Like, they wanted it like so much history, like 10 years worth of travel history, and like it was crazy. It was like several hours of filling out. They know more about me than anybody. But yeah, we got the visas, but to get into the country, you had to have a COVID test, which, by the way, I think is probably one of the biggest contributing factors to the meet being not a COVID hotbed, is like everybody to get there had to get tested. Yeah, that worked out. And the timeline's tight. They want you to do it within 72 hours of takeoff. And since the actual journey is like 30 hours, like it doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. So we, after doing Summerfest, hopped in a car together and drove down to Chicago to the place that could turn it around in under 4 hours, and sat in a car while we got jabbed up the nose and headed back to the drop zone, waiting nervously for our results.
It was quite strange because I don't know if anybody else looked at the photographs, but there were lots of photographs about the event, and very few photographs had people wearing masks. Like, was it masks?
Yeah, once we got there, they weren't into that at all. Russia.
Right.
Yeah. So the good news is we had tents, and like certainly once the meet started, it was all indoors, and there were a couple, I believe, before we got there, like there was just nobody wearing masks. It's just not going to be their jam. It became pretty apparent. And then once the meet started, like we did start wearing them more rigorously inside and in planes, and a little bit once the people kind of arrived. And like I said, I think what saved it is everyone got tested beforehand.
Yep.
We were tested on our arrival day, and we were, outside. Like that does seem to be such a critical factor. And nobody's partying. That's probably true too.
Really? Okay, I wasn't expecting that. That's
yeah, well, you know what? Every drop zone outbreak that I've heard of involved a party, right? Like
okay. That's
like
a good lesson for Australia then.
A little huggy.
Yeah, no hugging. Okay.
Yeah. So no, reduce the alcohol. So, but during a world meet, nobody's doing that, right? So.
Right. And hey,
at least not till afterwards.
We've got some technical people on the call. So I was just wondering, can you share a little bit about the draw itself? Like, how did you feel when the draw was coming out? And
yeah, it's always fun, right? It ended up being, well, the great news is we got to do the fun part. All the randoms, the fast stuff was in the first 6 rounds for sure. So while we were weathered out for the last 4 rounds, the last like 3 were a little bit of a slog. So on the bright side, like we got to do the fun bits. I guess the notable thing was that the 2 double slot switchers were in the first 2. So we had those out of the way right away. I mean, Doug did a little high five. Woohoo! And there was really only like 2 engineering choices. Round 1, and I believe it was round 5.
Yeah.
So round 1, the engineering choice was whether to take the short 19 or the long 19. And by short 19, I mean the one where it forces a switcher. We actually took the long 19, and like I think we probably would not. I think we might do the short one. Like the way it crept, we crept them both. And it crept okay, the long way, or it crept a little bit better, but in the sky, it was more of a distance than we thought. But the more interesting one was the jump with the 4. It was I'm trying to remember exactly. Look at my thing here, KLC 4.
Right.
All right. So the way to do this, the fastest way to do this is the normal K. The L, where the inside center side body is the tail, and the point shoots over to the back of the inside center, to the C, where the point would stay on the back of the inside center. The outside center's outfaced for the pod. So basically, you just imagine that L, and it just builds to that C right away, and it's going to build really fast to that 4. Now, when you do that, you really got to make sure you've got super clear separation between each, and you got to be a little bit concerned about the momentum of the 4 kind of bleeding stuff over. So like it sort of dug out, right? It spits the tail out a little bit, and then for me, it's really tricky to keep my legs towards the point, towards Andrew the whole time on the L, the C, and the 4. It wants to kick your legs out, right? So cool news is the Belgians and us both had basically the same problem, and like we chose that engineering, and we've done it before in practice. We've done almost something exactly like it, and you know, if you do it right, like, man, it's definitely the way to go. But if you don't do it right, it's just bus city. And so I think I'd keep that engineering. I just would better execution on that. And then interestingly, like Qatar did great on that one, because I think they were not trying to like pop on and off so fast, right? It's showing that more separation and making it a little bit clearer and a little bit easier.
I know, I mean, Andrew Barker's on the call, and I know he and I had a few text message conversations about it. I mean, Andrew, any technical questions or comments based on what Christy shared?
Oh, no, I think Christy already answered my question, which is, would you do it that way again? Because I think in the women's competition, they used a slightly different engineer. Was that right?
Yeah, a lot of the other teams, if you've never done this before, definitely don't. And even if you have, just make sure you do it right.
Yeah. But even with ending up with 4 busts or something, there's so much less movement. Do you think it still might have paid off? What do you think?
Yeah, well, again, like I have done this correctly, so yeah, I guess it paid off in the sense that both of the 2 top teams fell into the same trap. So, you know, that's something to always kind of remember at a meet. Like if there's a hard skydive, everybody else has got the hard skydive too. So you don't need to ever stress about it too much that way.
Yeah. And how did you feel overall with your performance as a team?
We were super stoked. So actually, I haven't really talked about the airplane too much, the LET. That might be interesting. So we failed to get access to the LET for more than like a dozen jumps beforehand. It was, again, a very interesting years. We had planned to get overseas to try to do it, but COVID locked it down. And so we didn't actually get a chance to experience this airplane. And if you haven't jumped it before, it's like an otter made out of wood is, I think, my favorite description. It's a very Russian plane. So the door is about as wide as a caravan, but much taller than an otter. It has a long curve outside of it. Like, so basically when the outside center's standing out there, they don't feel any wind, which is a little weird. But as soon as they leave, there's a much heavier prop blast. So overall that dealing with an unfamiliar door and the fact that we only had a dozen exits out of it is just an exercise in demanding confidence for yourself. You know, like, yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be. We're really good. I'm going to do this. So we did that. And then I think we were like all 6 rounds we were really, really happy with, right? Like, I mean, obviously you can always do better. You look at that KLC4, we had a little laugh over that, but man, like it was a great experience, and the team is very happy with it.
No, well done. And hey, I remember you telling me that you were actually sponsored with USA branded underwear. Not quite.
USA branded everything. We had USA branded underwear and socks. So yeah, no, one of the coolest parts actually of this experience. So I have been to a world meet before, but this one and it was just a little bit more. I don't know. This one was really kind of neat, and I think just the Olympics happening at the same time, and the USPA has improved their support for the teams, and like I normally don't. It's not like I own a whole lot of American flag apparel before this point, but being in that sort of costume and being representing your country was just a super cool and meaningful experience. Like not everybody gets to do that, and like to be able to do that, I was it made it really extra special. And I think the USPA really stepped up this year too, and just that they really did make us feel supported and like really there. Making us feel like we're representing our country.
No, that's brilliant.
It was great.
Because it's so different, like for the competitors in the audience, like we've been aware for years that, the US competitors have to fight so hard to get sponsorship and support and very little funding, whereas the Australian Parachute Federation provides funding for their parachute team, based on performance for sure, but there's a lot of support there. And you mentioned that the USPA had actually created some trust funds that were starting to.
Yeah, it's still not much. So I have, like, every country, how they get their people there is different. And in the US, we're big, but we're all also about that competition, right? So we have to find our own way. The USPA does not sponsor us in any way to train, during training, nothing like that. But there is a team trust fund that was started and now is big enough to actually provide a little bit of help for paying for our uniforms and paying for at least the registration and jumps over there. Oh. And that's huge, right? Like I remember when I did it 10 years ago, they maybe sent us a check for like $300. So that fund has grown a lot, and like, man, it really helps to take a little bit of the pressure off.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the US, you're kind of on your own. And so on one hand, we have a big country, we have all those opportunities to become professional coaches and support ourselves and get sponsorship that way. But on the other hand, it's not like we get any direct money. Like there's very little of none cash given. So you're left to your own devices that way for sure.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's great that they're doing something. I mean, any sort of particular momentous moments for you, if that was going to be, the one world meet that, maybe your last world meet, I don't know, any sort of, what would be your most momentous moment from that one?
Oh man, just the whole thing is such an epic adventure, and you're not the first person to ask me that, but it is hard to pick out a particularly cool moment in a stream of just amazing moments, right? Like, and I'm sure some of you had this experience. Like, so there's the special punctuated moments, like, walking in the parade at the beginning, or certainly being on the podium, or walking up to the plane with your team on round one. So there's those special punctuated moments. But like there's so many other ones too, like even the misadventures or the journey, like, I mean, it was crazy. It's crazy to get there from here. Like, so we left from Summerfest after we got jabbed in the nose. And SDC, actually, the coolest thing, they got us a limo bus to drive us to the airport in Chicago. So like started off rocking. We got in the limo bus. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Like the five of us just like, we're doing this. We're finally on our way. We all passed our tests. We have plane tickets. We're going to Siberia. And then just to get I've been on long plane rides, and like, actually, I just realized I'm talking to Australians who probably do this all the time. But maybe you'll have a little sympathy. Like the longest I've been on was to Dubai, which was like 12 hours or something. So, but yeah, no, from Chicago to France, 7-hour layover, and then France to Moscow, which is a 4-hour flight, Moscow, 4-hour layover, Moscow to Novosibirsk, which is a 4-hour flight, Novosibirsk, 3-hour bus ride. Yay, now you're in Siberia.
Ow.
But like, even that was like, I mean, weirdly tiring and memorable, right? And then we were together too, which was actually really cool. It's easier in a group.
Yeah, I'm just getting, yeah, go on.
I did see a question here. The USA women's four-way team. Yeah, that was a bummer is what that was. On round 4, their video guy essentially passed out on the camera step. Basically, yeah, you can see in the video that he was lined up to count, and then the film just sort of like trails away, and then you just see him flip a couple times, and then he flips over, and at 9 grand dumps. So basically, he woke up at 9,000 feet, didn't know where he was, and he pulled, which is good. He landed okay, and we took him to. They did take him to get kind of checked out in the med tent. And I think he actually went to the hospital that night to just get checked. Right, like it's a pretty scary thing to pass out. But that normally results in a 0, But when it went to the judges, they put it before the video review panel, and the video review panel watched it, and they felt like he had clearly passed out, and they awarded a rejump that night. So that was great. And then the way they found another camera guy. Basically, the way they kind of set up the rules, my vague understanding is that all of the US team is considered the team. So as long as you're not in the same event, you can borrow a camera guy or choose somebody else to be your camera guy. And they made that all happen. So they had a new camera guy, and they were awarded a rejump, which they did the next day, and they did pretty good. They got a score. But then a protest was received from the Polish team. And I'm afraid I can't speak to the technical details of what the judgy stuff was, but basically they were protesting the fact that it shouldn't have went into the video review panel, and they were awarded a yes, and then our side, Jim Reese, filed a protest on something else, and that was denied. So long story short, the basic concept is if you get out of the airplane, which they did, it's scored. You don't get a rejump generally. If it's one of the flyers, for example, if they have a reserve malfunction in the middle, none of that stuff, it's all considered a jump, unfortunately, and you kind of get what you get, and that's what ended up happening there. So good news, everybody got home, everybody's safe and healthy. So we're all, I think in the end, I'm sure the team was very disappointed, but I'm also sure they were just grateful that everybody's okay too.
It looks like Melissa's dropped out.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, she does have internet issues at home. Okay. Quite frequently. We meet a couple of times a week. So does anyone else have any other questions for Christy?
Let's see, we got a little bit of time here. So one of the other topics we were going to chat about was how to get into four-way. Right. Or FS, actually, generally. If you're thinking that you'd like to try competition or even big ways, a lot of this stuff applies. The first thing I tell people is, I know you guys have some tunnels down there. Get into the tunnel as much as you can. And try to get as sharp as you can in the wind tunnel. It really is the best bang for buck. And then as soon as you can, try to find a team. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they try to wait for the perfect team, or they try to get picky about teams. And if your goal is to advance, the biggest tip I got is any team is better than no team. Do anything, pick up teams, casual teams that don't compete, whatever it takes to kind of get you jumping and getting you doing as much kind of four-way stuff as possible. Other than that, I do have I do have a lot of tips about how to find teams and stuff like that at furycoaching.com, which is a blog and website that I have. If you are interested in learning more about that stuff, you can find some stuff there, and it pretty much it's written for the US, but the same kind of concepts will apply as far as finding teammates. The trick is to to ask everybody. Don't leave anybody out. Just ask around. anybody who you think you can possibly, even if you don't think they know anybody, getting the word out is the biggest deal. Because once people start to hear that you're the one looking for a team all the time, like it gets around the community, and that tends to be how you find the team that you end up with, for sure.
Hey, my apologies. I managed to lose my internet connection.
Yeah.
Yes. Never mind. You were talking about the women's team. Yes. I can't see if there were any other questions. Did yeah, Andrew?
Nothing popped up. I was just chatting to how giving some general advice on how to get into 4-way with tunnel and finding a team and all that.
Yeah, because who would think America's huge, so you would actually expect that to be really easy.
Oh yeah, no, it's never easy no matter where you're at. Again, the trick is to let everybody know what you're looking for, and like any team is better than no team. In the US, like it's big, we have a lot of people, but we're also really, really spread out. And so while it might be kind of easy to find like a team to start out with, like a beginner team, once you start moving up the pyramid a little bit, like, you know, just because you're from a big drop zone doesn't mean you're going to find 4 people from that drop zone. And we travel a lot, like certainly at the advanced levels, it's rare to find 4 people that are from the same place. Heck, even Rhythm doesn't live in the same state. We have 1 from North Dakota, 1 from California, 2 from South Carolina, and 1 from Florida. So like, you know, we're commuting to train, and all of the challenges that brings.
And that's what a lot of people in Australia had been doing before COVID. And now, of course, people are starting to think maybe we should look in our states. And I'm conscious that, like, you know, Andrew's asked an interesting question, but so has Garnet. Like, Andrew's asking, what would you prioritize in looking for team members? Maybe we start with that and then move on to how do you actually get started to train?
Yeah. Okay, that's a great question. So first of all, the thing is, define what you want from the season. Kind of do some soul searching before you accept a team or look for a team, and just like sort of just define in your head what perfect looks like to you, right? Like fun factor is a great example. So, you know, if fun factor is the most important thing for you, like if you know that about yourself beforehand, that will help you weight that more, right? If you're like, I'm going to be a world champion, like I will do whatever it takes, and like fun factor is a little less important to you, then, you know, you're looking more for competitive aptitude and the resources to do it. Money, you know, like define your own limits, right? And then you might not get everything you want as far as resources. So if you find somebody with that's otherwise compatible, and they don't have as much time and money as you do in either direction, like consider it anyway, if that's the best you can possibly find. And then if you have a gap and you still want to like get good and you really want that drive, you can use it to train in the tunnel. You can use it to get extra coaching. You can use it or save it for subsequent years. Like, so as far as actual money and time resources, like, you know, just find your limit as clearly as you possibly can. And then if you can't find somebody that can reach that same limit, then you can use the gap for productivity purposes. All teams should definitely define that limit. Probably one of the more common stressors teams experience is like not defining that very clearly and well at the beginning of the season. And then when people have different perceptions of what they're supposed to be spending start to pop up, it can cause a lot of stress and a lot of arguments and lead to team breakups. So defining stuff clearly beforehand, it makes it a lot easier later. And then as far as aptitude, you know, obviously everyone wants to be the worst person on the team until they are. I come across this all the time, like, yeah, I'm going to get better because everybody's better than me. But the stress of being the worst person on the team is no picnic. I mean, I'm like, really, like it can be, you're the one messing up all the time. that can be very, very stressful. And yeah, you will go up to speed, right? But if you're prioritizing fun factor or making, socializing, making friends, maybe that's not the right choice for you, So as far as just balancing those things, defining your own priorities clearly, talking with the team, and then any team is better than no team. You don't get better not doing a team.
So let me ask you that, because I'm looking on the call. We got a few people on the call who I know have been, exploring teams over the last sort of 12, 24 months. And, Chris has sort of suddenly started going like this on the call when he's like, you said any team is better than no team. Is it really?
I have to be pretty extreme cases to be, as far as, okay, let me say that. I'm saying that assuming your goals are longer to medium term competition. If a fun team is your big priority, then maybe not. But usually I get the people who are really driven, right? Like how do I get better? How do I get on a better team? How do I compete better? Which I can relate to. In that case, yeah, no, not doing a team for a year is gets you out of the loop, right? Like you don't improve your skills at all. It takes you out of the team ecosystem. So people don't know who you are, right? Like, and you're not moving forward. So even if it's a lateral move, or even if you're the best one on the team and you don't do so well competitively, being on the scene matters. Now, again, that is assuming that's your goal. Yes, if you're casual and you're looking to have a good time, it's not worth it to you to be on a team with 3 not nice people, right? Like, so that's true for sure. But as far as like if you're driven, pulling yourself out of the team environment is not going to move you forward.
What sort of success are you going to get if you advertised yourself? I mean, it's something that a few people have asked me, and skydiving has a network for sure. But have you ever heard of anyone being successful by putting their availability on Facebook and finding a team that way?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, no, I mean, again, like, our ecosystem might be different over here, but absolutely, like, let everybody know, like, let every coach know, let everybody make physical signs. If people forgot how to do that, make physical signs and post them on drop zones. Call friends at other places, and just if every single human being you can think of knows you're looking for a team, you'll cast the widest possible net and gets the most possible options. So yeah, that definitely works.
And Mary St. Angela, hey Mary, she's just mentioned that, like, group therapy or almost like blind dating, that sounded like a little bit what she was suggesting, seems to work.
Yes, yeah, and yeah, that's true. Like if you're searching for a team and like you want to know if it's a right fit, yeah, usually the first step is get thee to a tunnel or get thee jumping, and try it. You don't know till you try, and hang out a little bit.
Yeah, or a 4-way camp, like just trying to get people together for a session.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, even if there's no long-term team commitment, teams can come in a lot of different flavors, by the way. I get people sometimes, and it's probably partially they see rhythm and they think like that's the only way to do a team. Like, no, teams can be local, teams can be casual, teams can be like non-competitive. Like you can make a group of 4 that meets one Saturday every 6 weeks, does 5 jumps, and then has beer and barbecue. Like that's a great team. If everyone wants to do that, like you'll get better, you'll have fun. It's absolutely fantastic. I've had the last few years, I've had some interest in tunnel only teams. Some people are already committed to sky teams and want to do more. They have some of that gap, or just logistically skydiving's hard, or they have some kind of injury that lets them do tunnel but not the sky, right? Like there's teams that will literally only train with me in the wind tunnel and do a wind tunnel competition. Mm-hmm. So there's like a lot of different ways to look at how to make a team and how to do that kind of training and move yourself forward skill set wise, yeah, or just have fun, or again, like the barbecue and beer team, they're great.
Good name for a team, actually, barbecue and beer.
Barbecue and beer, yeah.
Picking up on Garnett's question, I was thinking actually we might use it to comment on something that you're doing at the moment, of a special project that we could perhaps all benefit from, looking at skills.
Yes. Okay. So favorite drills. All right. So so I am writing a book of two ways. So far I have 120 different styles of two ways and drills and things that you can do in the sky. A lot of them are well, they're all skill building, right? But they go from simple to really kind of complex stuff. So two-way drills in a wind, a lot of it inspired by the wind tunnel, but I have been filming them in the sky, and man, they're really fun. And you learn a lot in a two-way format. In some sense, the smaller formations can really teach you to focus. It allows you a little bit more focus. It can teach you more anticipation and a lot more kind of physical skill sets as far as actually flying around. So two-way drills are great. If you don't have access to a full four-way team, keeping those numbers small are great. And by the way, that works great for big way stuff too. If you want to get good at big way, small group stuff is the hot ticket, whether that is two-way or four-way or eight-way. The smaller stuff will give you the skills you need for the bigger stuff. The bigger stuff doesn't necessarily give you the four-way skills.
No, I think we proved that with our Aussie Big Way national record in 2019, because we certainly hadn't done 130 way before we came to California, and many of the people only had a few hundred jumps, so small is good. So how can people use or get access to your book?
Well, it's still being filmed. So the coolest thing of the book is it's actually a physical book, but each dive will have a QR code with a filmed and edited version of the jump. So you can look at the diagrams and watch it being done. And eventually those jumps won't just be like examples. They'll also have like voiceovers and tips and like sort of a little mini lesson. So you can watch furycoaching.com, and certainly my Fury Coaching on Facebook too. You'll get all the info as I continue to start the filming and hopefully finish that up in the next few months. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get it released. It's a lot to write that many two ways, but I enjoy creating odd formations and things, and so
yes, I have memories. Yes,
it's been great testing all those, and again, like I've been just thrilled with the filming I've done so far with other people in the sky, how much they enjoy it. Like it's been really cool.
No, and just quickly with Garnet, like, does that help, Garnet? I know you've got a focus on skill development.
And actually, Garnet, I'll throw one more thing out at you. So depending on what level you are, if you're coaching beginner four-way, or even wanting to coach beginners, you cannot go wrong with a DanDC style stop drill, like a full stop drill. If you're a beginning coach, stop drills are fantastic, and even if you don't have a coach, stop drills are like self-debriefing for a lack of words. So like life gets more complicated as you become more advanced and you want to learn flow and all this sort of stuff, but if you're just starting out, like that moving, stopping, and learning to fly, just the benefits are huge. And that style drill is so easy to understand what's happening and debrief. Like it's really good if you don't have access to a coach.
What does your future look like now then? I mean, I see Andrew's asked, are you staying together? But I'm just wondering, like, with the plan that you had before you ended up in Siberia, what's changed in the plan?
So for myself, I'm going back to retirement. That's not a big surprise. It was an absolutely amazing experience, but traveling, commuting to Chicago, North Carolina, and Florida from California has been hard, So while it was amazing, I think I will stay home for a little while and just focus on coaching and flying with people. As far as the rest of the team, our nationals is at the end of October. I would look for us to probably talk and find out more information about what everybody else is doing at that point.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, good question. Now you say you're retiring, but in actual fact, when I checked out your website, there's a lot going on. So,
yeah, so when I say, I mean competitively retiring, not like no, for sure. Back to full-time coaching, hosting events, doing all that kind of stuff. So I actually 2019 was crazy. I stay actually generally really busy out here in Southern California. Yeah, between a little bit of big way, a lot of four way, some 8-way, and I've been dabbling in more and more 16-way these days. I do things like write books and crazy projects like that. Lately, I've been doing a lot of virtual coaching, which actually, so it's not so easy. You know, we are open here, but it's not super easy to get around still. And so a lot of people have been, basically they submit videos to me and I do voiceovers where I debrief their full video for 5 to 10 minutes and send them back, and they can kind of listen to them at their own pace. That's been super popular. And if one team I've worked with a bunch before, I'll even make them a plan beforehand and make sure that they're walking things right and make sure that they're doing that part. So it's not quite as great as having me stand over you and give you the full experience and, you know, watching you the whole time. But if you can't get to me or can't get, you don't have your own coaching system available, like it has been really successful. So.
And how do people connect with you? Like where can they find you and make contact with you?
Furycoaching.com is my blog, and there are a lot of resources up there. I think I'm up to well over 100 articles on everything from just general safety to big way stuff to lots of 4-way stuff, and how to compete better, that kind of thing. So that's the biggest source that's got all my events. And of course on Facebook. Fury Coaching on Facebook mirrors a lot of that stuff, and you'll find announcements for all the new articles and things like that.
Perfect. And is there actually a way of getting in touch with you?
Sure is. You can I'll just tell you my email, frikkenc@gmail.com. Can I type that in? Everyone will have it.
Yeah, pop it into the chat. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll come up in a minute. No, that's perfect. What about anything else you wanted to share with us? You're talking to Australia and America. Anything particular you want to share?
I don't know, go compete. Go compete. Basically I think the big thing is check out furycoaching.com. I really got some articles like almost for everybody up there. Like popular ones like how to get good on a budget, how not to go low, all the things that I think people, it's a great resource that I hope people find as useful as I've had as much fun as I had writing it. So I'd say keep your eyes peeled on that.
Cool. No, thank you. And just before we close, because I am, I have said the hour, so I apologize for the slow start. Anybody got anything else from the floor?
All right, I can show you the World Medal. I forgot about that.
Yes.
It's got a spinny bit in the middle. That's pretty cool.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, check it out.
What's it made with? Because I think the Olympic medals were made with special things.
Nah, even the gold ones aren't gold for us. This is apparently the host designs them though, because my other one is like from France and it's like super small and like about that big. This guy is like Russian built to last.
And it didn't go ping when you went through the security at the airport?
Yeah, no, it you know what? It's very, very bland. So no, it didn't.
Where will you hang it? I remember you told me you put it in a drawer and you have to go and look for it.
Yeah, I have a giant bin. I used to have them hung up, but I don't know. It just seems a little self-worshipping.
There you go. Well, I don't know. I would take them out the giant bin occasionally and maybe wear them around the house or something.
Well, there you go. That's a good idea. Wear them to the drop zone, take some pictures once a year.
Look, we've got people starting to leave, so people know how to find you. Thank you again for joining us today. Apologies for the mix up with the passcode. So people watching the webinar on video, sorry you couldn't join us face to face. And for that, what I'd like to say, if anybody's got a really particular question, if they're watching this on video, then basically, please email me at the APF and I can shoot it through to Christy and we can try and join some dots for people who weren't able to join in. So few people saying hi and thank you. And yeah, thanks to America, thanks to Australia. And let's enjoy our jumping for those who can.